Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Joseph Ofori. Thanks once again for joining us. I recently did a video on the causes of a lack of confidence and how to overcome these. I followed it up with another video on the fear of failure and how this keeps us from making progress and how this keeps us from achieving what we need to achieve for ourselves and in life. One of the significant causes of a fear of failure is perfectionism. And today I want to do a little bit of a deeper dive into this. So welcome to this video as I talk about overcoming or strategies for overcoming perfectionism. Perfectionism is a very significant cause of lack of progress. It causes the lack of fear, which makes people reluctant and unwilling to take the action that they need to help them to succeed to make progress. Now, perfectionism can be defined as wanting everything to line up, everything to be perfect or correct. And it is a tendency that places unrealistic demands on people. People put so much pressure on themselves because they want to be flawless and, in their views, to be perfect. But this, in many cases, is not attainable. It is a sort of a dreamland which one may never get to. And in addition to the fact that you wouldn't get to it, it also affects productivity, it impairs health, and there are many people who have been impacted significantly, mentally, emotionally, but that consistent desire, that overriding need and expectation for them to be perfect. People who do this consistently can sometimes be prone to depression and anxiety. So it is not something that we should trivialize or play with, apart from the fact that it causes us to get stuck and not to progress. It can have very serious health implications for people who are persistently trying to pursue perfectionism. There are a few types of perfectionism that we can identify, and I mentioned three of them very quickly. So there is one that is self-oriented, there is also another that is directed at others, and there is a third type which is socially prescribed, or the expectations of the society that we find ourselves in, on us or on people. Now, some of the main causes of perfectionism are the fear of judgment or disapproval or rejection from others. This might stem from, for example, childhood experiences where people have been critically criticized, severely in the past or persistently. So sometimes you live with people who are constantly criticizing, never making any effort to catch you doing good, but are always very quick to point out your mistakes. So that can instill or imbibe in people the tendency, they become compliant unconsciously, and then always think whether the people who criticized them in the past are there or not. They feel it becomes a part of them that they have to be perfect all the time. This has serious consequences on our productivity and our ability to make progress and then to be successful. It causes, as I said before, the fear of failure, which can be, linked to what has been described as analysis paralysis. Sometimes we spend too much time analyzing what needs doing instead of simply going ahead to take the action that would bring the expected results. I have mentioned already that it can also have serious health implications by affecting mental health and emotional well-being. Julia Cameron has said something which I find very profound, and I will quote that perfectionism is not a quest for the best. It is a pursuit of the worst in ourselves, the part that tells us that nothing we do will ever be good enough, unquote. Now, this is very important. It's important to understand this and then to see what the pursuit of perfectionism does to us. Somebody has described perfectionism as self abuse. You subjecting yourself to things that are not reasonable is indirectly abusing yourself. There is the question of perfectionism and excellence, whether they are the same or which is better. I have said before, and perfectionism generally is the expression, the manifestation of the fear of failure. Now, striving for excellence is trying to be the best to succeed. So, excellence is superior in all dimensions to perfectionism. Excellence is linked to persistence and it's linked to the commitment. It leads to the commitment to do something exceptionally well within the limits of your ability. You are not constrained by just what you think you can do, but you strive to improve. But you don't do anything better than your best. You accept that it is your best that you can do after all. And once you've done your best, you are happy with the results and don't punish yourself unduly in pursuit of perfectionism. So we must at all times embrace excellence rather than perfectionism. H. Jackson Brown Jr. says something, and it goes like this: strive for excellence, not perfection. Perfectionism, as I've said before, is beyond your reach. So there is absolutely no point. To be able to overcome the desire, the tendency to seek perfectionism or to pursue perfectionism, one of the very helpful strategies is to set for yourself realistic, reasonable, and practical goals. It is also important that we embrace perceived failure, mistakes that may have been made, as opportunities to learn to do things in a different way, in a better way. Now, if you do things in the same way, you can expect that you will probably get the same results, as Albert Einstein is credited to have said. So if we want to do things differently, then we must take the opportunity to learn from things that we may have done in the past that may not have worked. We must also practice self-compassion. We must be kind to ourselves and practice self-love, self-care. Salvador Dali says something, and I quote, that have no fear of perfection. You will never reach it, unquote. What this seeks to say is, don't be concerned about perfectionism. Don't worry about not being perfect, because perfectionism in itself is not attainable. Another strategy that can help us to overcome that tendency to want to be perfect all the time is to challenge the inner critic. One of the greatest causes of the tendency to seek perfection is not from external sources, but sometimes from our own self. When the inner person, the inner man, the inner critic is urging you, is dissatisfied with what you are doing. So it might be floods of failure, floods of negativity, thoughts, of failure, thoughts of negativity, thoughts of falling short, not being enough, flooding your mind. Now, if these happen to you, one thing you can do would be to reframe those thoughts, to replace them with positive thoughts. The Bible says that whatsoever good things are of good report, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are good, think on these things. Bill Clinton says that you cannot stop birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from nesting on your head. Bad and negative thoughts may flee through your mind. You may not be able to control it all the time, but you can stop them from taking prime real estate in your thought process, in your mind, by replacing them with more acceptable, with more noble, and with better helpful thoughts. Perfectionism has been said and described by Anne Lamott to be the voice of the oppressor, the enemy of the people. It will keep you crammed and insane your whole life, unquote. Much of the effects of this state, this desire to be perfect, would be happening, that battle will be happening in your mind. And it is important that you take control by replacing and challenging the inner critic, replacing any thoughts of negativity, any perceptions of failure, and then the effects of failure, replace them. Picture yourself having succeeded instead of having failed. Picture yourself on a podium being rewarded, receiving a medal, receiving plaudits, receiving applause, an imaginary crowd applauding you. Replace negative thoughts with some of these thoughts. If these don't help, then of course, you should seek help and support. You can seek help from professionals, people who have done it before, who would be all too willing to share their experiences with you, how they have been able to achieve this. Professional help is very helpful in many cases. You should also build a supportive network. Avoid people who put you down always. Unfortunately, in this life, there are so many people who simply take delight in putting other people down. But you must avoid people. If they cannot lift you up, don't let them push you down. Avoid such people like the plague. Like I said, it is not nice, but we cannot help it. Such people exist and they do abound. But you can stop them from affecting your life by avoiding them and rather getting into positive company, people who would encourage you, people who will urge you on, people who would build you up and say positive things to you. In closing, let me say this, that don't let perfect be the enemy of good. In many cases, being good is good enough. Don't let the tendency to be perfect to rob you of the benefits that being good, the accomplishments, the satisfaction that being good will bring to you. Give yourself credit for the little efforts, the little wins. Pat yourself in the back. If nobody is noticing and cheering you on, be your own cheerleader. Know that you are enough. You don't need validation from other people to feel enough. You should be able to validate yourself. You should be able to look at yourself when you dress and you're going out. You don't necessarily need somebody else to give you a compliment before you feel good about yourself. Look in the mirror, and if you are happy with what you see, if you don't like it, if you are not happy with it, don't step out. Go change it. But when you are happy with it, then forget about what other people say. If people give you a compliment, it is a bonus. But without that, you are still enough. The outside belongs to others, but only you should decide what is good for you. Well, that is about all that we've got time for. Thank you very much once again for joining me on this video. If you found this video useful, I will ask that you subscribe to this channel and then you like this video as well, which helps us to push this on to other people. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and until then, remember that you are enough despite what anybody else thinks. Thank you once again, and all the very best.